Alycia Baumgardner retaining the super featherweight title against Bo Mi Re Shin. Very good fight, very entertaining fight, and all the credit in the world to Shin, absolute warrior from Korea. I enjoyed part of and noted heading into this fight that aspect of the fight that Bumgardner is Korean and Black American. I guess apparently German too. So partly, my sister in that regard too. Although we are all brothers and sisters, Raheem. But that aside, yeah, I enjoyed that part. And hey, she's one of the flyest Black Koreans since Redman. I have to find I had to shoehorn in a Redman reference into this somehow. But no, a lot of respect between both fighters and a really good fight, a decisive win for the champion Alycia Baumgardner. We got to get into her against Caroline Dubois. That's all the rage. I got lit up a little bit on Twitter for I'm saying.
Boy, are you about to go into that matchup?
Well, yeah, we will event. Yeah, we could start with this fight in and of itself, and then let's get into our early Dubois, analysis. And the fight would actually have to happen if Alycia is not going to get Katie Taylor or Amanda Serrano. And Eddie Hearn has said Katie Taylor it's not happening, but that'll come down to Katie ultimately. But she's got to take the Caroline Dubois fight if you're not getting Taylor or Serrano, especially with Serrano coming off a loss to the Taylor fight. Okay, Serrano's isn't quite the Taylor fight. Anyways, into this fight, still a really good performance by Bumgardner. Yeah, she faded in the second half. Yeah, she tends to dip in her fights at some point, even when she beat Michaela Mayer for undisputed. Some point in those 10 or the one time 12 rounds, she's gonna dip, but she knows how to fight like that, and she switched gears a little bit. She started pot shotting and being slick and getting underneath shots, decent head movement. At other times, she got beat up on the inside, took some combinations. Shin landed some good shots, but that uppercut she landed in the fourth round was beautiful. I thought in particular the first 5 rounds, she was razor sharp, and she flashed the punching power and the hand speed, put it together very nicely, and had enough savvy in the second half of the fight to still get out of there, winning basically just about every round. But what'd you think of this performance, Raheem? Where you want to start?
I think the difference between the Baumgardner who faced Mayer and the Baumgardner we saw last night is vast. First of all, I thought Michaela Mayer won that fight. And what I saw last night was a different fighter altogether. Like, I was incredibly impressed with how precise her punches were, how quick and snapping her shots were. Her punch selection was excellent. And here's the thing, where you call it a dip, and it may be, I consider it a decision. I think Alycia Baumgardner is acutely aware of the entertainment factor in fights, and she still has an invincibility wired into her brain, as many fighters do, especially if they're undefeated. They have an air of absolute invincibility, and I can get away with anything in there until somebody proves me wrong, right? The way she fought, to me, was maybe what Shadesha Green couldn't do, right? In the sense that she fought Shin's fight and her own fight. She was willing to trade when she could have kept her distance and picked her apart. She knew that these moments were exciting, these exchanges were going to get people talking, and she believed that she would come out for the better. That doesn't mean she's taking shots on purpose, but it means she's willing to take an exchange when she doesn't necessarily have to go that route. I don't think Shin was at every moment forcing Baumgardner into that exchange so much as Baumgardner was accepting the invitation. And it made for a really fast-paced 3 minutes. Because I'll be honest with you, for me, 3 minutes, like in the Chantel Cameron fight in MVP2, felt a little long in the tooth, man. It was like, I think I like 2 minutes. But because the skill set from Bumgardner was on display, and the tenacious, unrelenting, unflinching Shin was coming forward, dropping bombs. It made me think of Bradley Provodnikov. Now, the fight wasn't in jeopardy like that. It wasn't quite, that dire at all for Bumgardner, really, but it gave me the sense of just like, oh, this girl is not going to stop coming forward, and she's got bombs. She's coming to drop bombs, and it's almost like she's one of the, I believe Shin might be one of these people who kind of like getting hit. And so that dynamic made me a believer in Bumgardner. Like, this is actually the fight that made me a believer. Like, oh, okay, this is special. This is not invincible, though. It's special. And it's going to require somebody to convince her that she's not invincible and can't do just anything. Because while I think she was making a decision, it's a dangerous choice. It's a dangerous choice. And there's something to be questioned, like, okay, women's boxing's 2 minutes, they say, to protect women from more damage for whatever, biological assessment that the people who make that argument are saying. But at the same time, there's so few knockouts, not even knockdowns. Like, in this fight especially, if women are so fragile, if you can't handle it's one of two things. Either they're not that fragile, and they ought to be fighting 3-minute rounds, and still, to be fair, probably not getting these knockouts, or they don't hit that hard. And even if they are that fragile, doesn't matter, because the punch power is not there. Even in the Green fight where we saw a stoppage, again, I think there was something happening. I don't think she got busted up and broken down from heavy-handed power shots. She gassed, and there was something wrong at the end there that disallowed her to continue the fight. But if you're going to have 3-minute rounds, they need to be at this level. The reason that, for me, the 2-minute round is better up until this fight was because the action was just so constant for 2 minutes that it'll keep you engaged, but not always not always a display of incredible skill or efficiency. For the 2 minutes, the pressure to be exciting and to win the round oftentimes is at the sacrifice of efficiency and precision, which is what Bumgardner said, that she wanted the ability to set shots up, that she wanted the ability to run her game plan and have time to be patient, and she proved that can, in fact, create a better fight. This was a better fight. I'm glad she's right. This fight needed 3 minutes. And if it had been a 2-minute round 10, I think the fight would not have been as good. However, unfortunately, at this time, that might be the anomaly. That might only apply to Bumgardner in the way she is able to execute right now. Across the board, I don't know that women doing 3 minutes in the way that they're fighting in general is going to rise to this level. But I'm happy to see that it can.
Yeah, the 3-minute rounds for Alycia Baumgardner is an interesting push-pull for her, pro-con for her, because I do think, I'll disagree with you there. I think that it wasn't a selection of entertainment. When after about the 5th round, Shin began to get inside, and you had to see she had to do the intelligent clinch, and she had to take her walk, and she had a pot shot because of the dip in her energy level. She had to take the intelligent walk. She had to put her shoulder in her every now and then, smother. Like, I'm too tired to slip every punch. I'm too tired to counter everything and keep running off the sharp combinations I got off the mark with in the first half of the fight. So let me put my shoulder into you, smother some of those work. I'm back on the outside now, back on my walk. One little shot at a time, which doesn't have the same mustard on it did earlier. I think it was more that thing. But just like in the Michaela Mayer fight, she has shown an ability to recover and get that second or third win, stabilize, and then finish the job like she did in the 10th round against Shin, like she did in the 10th round against Michaela Mayer. And I do think I like this. I'm with you. This is a sweet spot. 10 3-minute rounds. We've got to go 12 3-minute rounds, but 10 3-minute rounds for these fights, they hit the sweet spot. And the pro for it, for Alycia Baumgardner, is what you're saying. She benefits from a slower pace because let's start with the two. The two best women's boxers of this era and probably all time, Katie Taylor, Clarissa Shields, one of their superpowers is hitting that button and just, throwing 10-punch combinations. And in 2-minute rounds, when they press that button even once, let alone 2 or 3 times, good luck still winning that round because they just bombed on you with 6 or 7 shots out of a 10-punch combination. And then they know how to in Katie's case, use her feet a lot to circle the ring, or in Clarissa's case, be slick and also use her feet if she wants. And yeah, good luck getting that round back when you only got a minute and a half left of the round and you already ate a big combination and all that. But Alycia likes to slow it down, likes to draw that invisible line in the sand, can counter a little bit, can set up her shots a little bit. And I enjoy that about her style. I think, she is one of the elite fighters in the game, has been ever since she really entered the championship picture. Now, before we get to Dubois and everything, because people are thinking, they're giving me shit for saying, I think I favor Bumgardner in that fight, right? And by the way, not by some huge margin or anything. It's essentially a pick'em fight. If it got made for their next fight, it's essentially a pick'em fight. But I will say, Bumgardner was obnoxious this week. She's playing the part, I'm that B word, I think is how some people would say it, and I know it because if it was men's boxing, it's I'm that motherfucker. I'm him. I'm her, and I know it. Look at me at the weigh-in. Look at my physique. I can talk. What she keeps saying all week, looks and hooks and all that. It's a bit of a shtick. It's a bit of a persona, and it's also a bit of I know I'm the shit, and I'm saying as much, right? But it definitely, I think, was obnoxious to a lot of people at the same time. But you're selling your fight, you're playing the part, and all week with the Mayweather playbook, and I mean that by the rhetoric of it all. Floyd, at the end of the day, super decorated resume. Okay, fought a bunch of great fighters, but the playbook of I'm the A side, I'm this and that, I'm the cash cow, who's this person, yada, 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 yada. And it's just like, all right, if you don't get the Katie Taylor fight, which, again, Eddie said that's not happening, and Serrano is smaller than you. Oh, and when I said 2 of the 3, Serrano too. Another fighter, all-out combinations, in 2 minutes of every round. That's hard to get that get back, but Bumgardner, again, benefits from a slower pace with her, or 3-minute rounds with her style, more so. But anyways, if you're not going to get that fight, and Serrano's older, she's technically more of a natural featherweight, but whatever, size isn't a big issue there, but she's older and coming off a loss. Katie Taylor, fine. Katie Taylor takes precedence over any matchup. You're willing to go to Ireland, fair play to you, all that. But I don't know if that's actually likely. And she's saying, what has Dubois done? I'm a prize fighter, not a charity fighter. That fight is huge in England. If you want to go over there and make some good money, I think your promoter would want it if he can't land you Katie Taylor. And I liken it to this. Last year, Benavidez fights in 2 weeks against Zurdo. This was kind of his David Morrell fight. And actually, David Morrell wasn't a number 1 fighter ranked in his weight class. Morrell was actually, in many ways, less decorated and deserving, even though it was a fight we all wanted to see still, than Dubois has got herself into position at 135. And Benavidez says, all right, you know what? I'm not getting the Bivol fight right now. Or Bivol and Beterbiev are tied up. They're doing what they're doing. I'm not getting Canelo. What's literally the next best thing? Who's a name they're talking about? Someone younger than me, who's a name that people are saying, we think this fighter can beat you. David Morrell. All right, line it up. Bring on David Morrell. And let me fight him now while I'm in my prime. Before I no, put it to the side. He's dangerous. He's young. He's nobody. He's done nothing. Okay, and then you mess around and then you fight him in your 30s and maybe you miss the window to actually beat this guy. So now with that, I would tell her, liken this to your David Morrell. All right? If you're not getting your Canelo, which would be a Katie Taylor, you're not getting your Serrano, anything like that, then, hey, you haven't beaten a name, an elite fighter, in 4 years since you beat Michaela Mayer. So if you're not getting those fighters, nobody wants to hear that shit. Nobody wants to hear that shtick. They want to see you and Dubois line it up. And I think you could beat Dubois. I think it's a pick'em type of fight, but I think you could beat Dubois, and I'll get into why in a minute. What do you think?
Well, the uncomfortable truth that I suppose we're not supposed to say is that you kind of got to take that Michaela Mayer fight off the table. Like, yeah, I thought Michaela won it again, I'll say. But also,
right, the PD stuff.
This is pre-pop.
Right.
So, not unfairly, not unlike Ryan Garcia, not unlike Conor Benn, any pre-pop wins have an asterisk. They just do. So I'm looking at post-pop. And post-pop, do you still got the same pop? You're going to have to prove that you do. That you still have the same engine. That you still have what you had before and can perform against athletes at the same level. Conor Benn. Dubois is the fight for you. You don't deserve a Katie Taylor fight. That's the truth.
Ooh.
You don't deserve it. And there's no argument to be made post-pop that you do. It's Katie at home fighting who she wants to fight, who has earned the right to do so. And to be fair, if you look at Katie's fights against Serrano, and especially the last one where she did what nobody thought she would do, even if they told her to do it. The execution, the versatility in Katie's game that, at least I'll speak for myself, I didn't know was there. She'll outclass you. You won't know how to fight her. If she's still, if age doesn't creep in, if she doesn't get old overnight, which at this stage in her career, after all that she's done, is certainly a possibility. But if we're talking even close to prime Taylor, be careful what you wish for. It's your time to establish your era. Katie's gone. Forget about Katie Taylor. You missed that boat. And maybe it was a gift of God that you did. Go focus on the fight that is for you at your level, that you need to actually prove you can do what you once did while we know what you've done. That is Caroline Dubois through and through. That is really, to me, the only fight. Now I get the jawing and who's A side and I'm this and you're not that. I hope you're just building the fight. Because I hope you don't actually believe that.
I think she does.
I hope you don't think that you're too good for this fight. This is a fight you have to prove you're too good to do twice. Do that. Go in there and dominate her so much that nobody calls for the rematch. That is a statement. But to say, "Oh, I'm levels above this. This isn't a fight this fight isn't worthy of me," is wild, bro. That's wild. I think this would be a great fight. And the power that Dubois has, I don't think Dubois, and she said as much, and she said it in a win, so I'll take her at her word that she probably did wake up on the morning of the Harper fight under the weather. She probably wasn't 100% in that fight. She didn't look to be 100% in that fight.
Well, Alycia said she was on a period in this fight, to be fair.
I didn't hear that. Is that what she said in the post-fight?
All right.
Is that what did she, actually?
She did say that, yes, to Ariel Helwani.
I don't know.
They both got their reasons, but go on.
I gotta sidestep that. I don't know how to navigate those waters. No pun intended. But, I'll tell you what, she probably shouldn't have said that because the gambling people will likely try to track now, date to date, when she'll be 100% or possibly fighting against that biological challenge.
It's the second time saying that after a fight. It might have been the Mayer fight too, which is this is the second time in Alycia Baumgardner's career. You got to get the scheduling down. but that's all right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll have to admit that I haven't figured out how to work that into my analysis. So I'm just going to sidestep the whole conversation there and say that Dubois and Bumgardner is an international clash of the kind of quality pedigree fight that will potentially be the super fight that puts this generation of women's boxing at the forefront. That could actually be like a Leonard Hearns, like a Hagler Hearns, like, you know, it could be one of those marquee moments where you're like, and I'm not comparing the styles or the talent of these fighters. I'm just saying the moments that could be created in a fight like this for women's boxing.
Relative to their own sport.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, relative to what it meant in history, how it kind of marked all of these fighters as something in their era, and one fight that we harken back to, I believe that this has that level of potential. What I saw from Bumgardner last night was so impressive, so entertaining, and whether you're right or I'm right about why in the middle to second half of the middle rounds it got rough in there for her, either way, that plays incredibly well for a Dubois matchup. Whichever it is. If she decides that she's going to mix it up with Dubois, who has, I believe, the same tenacity, the same come forward desire to land clubbing punches on you that Shin does, what with much better ability and technique, or if Bumgardner does have an issue with her engine in the middle of rounds, and the pressure from Dubois will be the only moment that Dubois might have to really overwhelm her. What I saw of precision and technique, if not technical ability, I think Bumgardner has displayed superiority there. What I saw of punch power, aggression, ability to, and just a hunger to punish your fighter, to break somebody down inside that 2 minutes instead of 3, that pressure fight, I believe Dubois has the advantage, which is why I think it's the kind of matchup that can be a storied matchup like the ones I just mentioned. She should be in Bumgardner, talking her shit, but running towards that fight. Set it up how you want, and you, the A side, talk whatever you want to, but please don't believe it. Please don't believe that there's a better fight out there for you, or you deserve more, or you're actually somehow levels above this matchup. It's not true. And you'll do yourself a disservice swerving it.
Yeah, and people noted that when I said, well, you know, Bumgardner, because right now I think that the take that has momentum is Bumgardner is ducking Dubois, and she lends credence to that with her rhetoric, and that Dubois beats her, which is the part I push back on more. I said, I don't know about that, because their two common opponents, Terry Harper and now Shin, she beat in more decisive fashion, but there's pushback on that. To your point, Harper is pre-getting popped. Everyone noted that with me. Fairly noted. I will definitely acknowledge that. Who she knocked out Harper to win the WBC title. And then Shin, on paper, lost by a majority decision to Caroline Dubois, but actually going back, and I made sure to do my due diligence and rewatch that fight before we got on, because it was only 20 minutes. And it was not a majority decision kind of fight. I thought they both won by pretty decisive margins against Shin. And then to our point earlier, likening Benavidez and Morrell, and it's like, well, look, Benavidez, did he get Canelo? No. Jaron Ennis, did he get Terrence Crawford? No. So what is Benavidez does? He fights David Morrell, a younger, dangerous threat. What is Jaron Ennis doing in a couple of months? Now, granted, it's him being a challenger and not a champion, although technically fighting Dubois at lightweight, you would be the challenger. She has a belt there, but that, regardless, fighting a younger, challenge a guy trying to make his name in Xander Zayas off of you, just like you need to make your name off of him. Same kind of thing there. If you're not going to get the Katie Taylor, like Boots didn't get Terrence, like Canelo didn't, or Benavidez didn't get Canelo, you got to fight another young, hungry lion, a younger hungry lion in all three cases, and make your name that way. And you talk about elevating women's boxing and making history. This is it. This is the kind of fight where you do elevate your sport by taking on that kind of fight. Clarissa Shields' biggest fight to date has still been the Savannah Marshall fight. American against the United Kingdom. There was a story there from the amateurs. Right now, there's a story building. All the hardcores are asking for it. So let me get into why I think I would give the edge to Alycia Baumgardner. And I gotta watch more of Dubois, to be fair, to get the technical point you're making about her being a pressure fighter and all that. When they both fought Shin, when Dubois fought Shin, she had to be the boxer. And I noticed more use of her feet, and she's a southpaw. Southpaws are tricky. They get that. She's educated as a southpaw too. She gets that angle, and she used her feet a lot. And good speed, good foot movement, good IQ. But I think Bumgardner had, sometimes when you start pot shotting, like Bumgardner had to eventually do against Shin. Shin will make them all eventually get up on their toes with her relentless pressure and come forward style. But Bumgardner did it a little less of the foot movement, a little less around, totally up on her toes, moving around the ring. And Dubois really settled into that style for several rounds at a time. Turner. Now that has a pro and a con for both fighters. That showed me that Dubois might be rangier, and she's a southpaw, and she covers more ground once she gets on her back foot, which could be difficult for Bumgardner, who's used to being the superior athlete, used to you having to take that step forward. If she has to, when she fought Michaela Mayer had to take the step forward. Mayer gave away early rounds trying to fight her at range and doing it like that. It wasn't until Michaela started to press her that she swung momentum midway through their fight. Again, because Bumgardner is always the faster, more athletic, twitchy fighter. And I actually think just pure hand speed, she is a little faster and sharper and compact than Caroline Dubois. But Dubois would seem to have maybe superior foot speed. And that's part of why Bumgardner's a better puncher. Her feet are more set when she does what she does in her style. Dubois, to me, is a bigger girl, but not a bigger puncher. And part of that is her feet aren't as set. She still is fighting a little bit more out of the Olympic style, the amateur style, and Bumgardner has settled down more with a professional style. Go ahead. Oh, you went on mute, Raheem. You went on mute for some reason. Yeah. Went on mute for some reason. What's going on here?
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, well, it's good that my mic was muted because your breakdown was so much better than mine.
No.
The caveat that I now want to make and adjust my former comments, because you're so right. When I say she's a tenaciously pressure looking for the knockout, what I mean to say, and this is a better way to say it, I'll correct myself, not because she's so much heavier handed, it's because she's constantly looking for offense, even if her footwork or if her foot position isn't there. You were like, oh, she's turning Shin and turning with punches. She's constantly looking to barrage you, to beat you up, to beat you down, to pound you. That's what I mean. And for Baumgardner's sake, she is looking to line you up, to set you up, to walk you onto a shot, to crisp sharp shoot you. Mm-hmm. And so that is the difference, the dynamic to me, that those are the styles that make the best fights, those kind of matchups. Baumgardner isn't going to throw a punch out of position. She's not just going to wing one in as she's turning. She's not just going to look for anything. And Dubois is. Dubois, absolutely. And Dubois doesn't know the difference. She's like, if a shot's there, I'm going to take it. And I'm going to put everything behind it. She's not conserving her punches. She's not, yes, her footwork is great, but everything Dubois does is to land another punch, is to get something off. Whether it be sitting down on the shot, over the top, winging a shot, on the move. And so that is a much better and more concise way for me to put how I see the matchup. And anybody deciding to bet on this fight should listen to what you just said, because that really is the difference. I can often be excited by and drawn into a fighter who's just constantly looking for offense from any direction, any way, anyhow. I like that. I like that style. And I appreciate a Bumgardner, a Shakur Stevenson, right, who is lining you up, who is setting the shot, who that uppercut is crisp and clean and like, ooh, that's nasty, right? But if I'm given the choice, those are the two I want to see against each other. I don't want to see I don't want to see, but I'm not as excited to see Dubois versus Dubois. And if I had to pick, I'd rather see a Dubois versus Dubois than a Bumgardner versus a Bumgardner, if you understand what I'm saying, right? So for both girls, this is the fight. Like, this is the fight. I don't even want to hear about it not being the fight. And let me tell you something. Calling out Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano for Bumgardner is not the flex she thinks it is. Those women are so much more accomplished than you. They are so past your level and in a generation before you. You want to be that, but you think
Taylor's 2 weight classes above you too.
Like, to be that, you fight the Dubois now. You do the fights that build you into that. Fighting them past their prime and the sunset of their career on the last 2 or 3 fights that maybe, not Katie, but Serrano has, or fighting Katie on her last fight, that ain't it. To me, that's clout chasing. That is not as impressive a win, even if you got it, because immediately the caveats would come raining down. Well, she got old overnight. She was too damaged from the Taylor fights, or she was too damaged from the Serrano fights, or her heart wasn't in her, or she should have retired. You're not going to get the credit you think you will. It's not the flex you think it is. And to be those women, you got to be you now. Fight in your contemporaries. Take on the challenges that are exciting for your generation. Now, if they call you out, that's different. If they're saying, I want this girl because, that's different. If Usyk is calling out, Moses Atama, that's different. You understand? You're past where Moses Atama is, but you understand the dynamic I'm talking about. Take out. We want to see a Dubois and a Wardley type of matchup where we're like, man, this is a pick'em. We don't this is this could be the most exciting fight in women's boxing this year. That matchup. Yeah. Be excited about that and give homage to the women who came before you, who set the stage, who put those Netflix numbers up, who made MVP capable of doing MVPW.
Right.
Be that girl.
Right.
You know what I mean? Go to Katie Taylor's last fight and give her the salute. I'm nobody's undercard fighter. Be on the undercard of that fight. You want to be at Croker on the undercard of that fight. Yes, you're still there. Post-pop. You're still there. And that is not something to shy away from or to think you're better than. So, yes, I'm not a huge fan of shit talking, male or female, whatever. But the press conference for Dubois and Bumgardner will be clip, quote, heavy and somewhat insufferable. But it will be a war of words. They both know how to promote themselves and to needle the other person. I look forward to the buildup of that fight. I would be happy to see a fight like that take main stage. That fight is not an undercard fight. But if you're going to fight anybody else, you might as well jump into Croker Stadium and get on the undercard of Katie Taylor. Like, be your own. If you're not, you know what I mean? Like, these are the kind of decisions that define an athlete early. And Bumgardner has the skill, the excitement, the mentality. What I saw Saturday night, the understanding of entertainment, because even if you're right, and you might be, she could have made that a boring rest. You know what I mean? I think she could have run. She could have pot-shotted, stayed far outside of Shin, and then hugged on the inside and gave us like 6 minutes of a snooze fest. But she didn't. She's an exciting fighter, and this is the only most exciting fight she could possibly be in. So stop shitting on it, because this is the fight that could make you the shit for real.
Yeah, because ultimately, playing those games too much with Mikaela Mayer in the rematch aftermath is what squandered that fight. And then Mayer went up several weight classes, and it was a rematch everyone wanted to see. That would have been a big fight, and then it never happened. It was the co-main event to Claressa Shields, and kind of you walked away from that fight more intrigued by them. Claressa beat Marshall so handily that you were like, the story, the note you were still hanging on to more so was a rematch with Mikaela Mayer. And again, another reason I'd favor her is when you break down those styles. Dubois will take any shots that's there off the turn, and Alycia will look for the perfect shot. And again, there's a chance that Dubois' foot speed gives her problems. Southpaw style, naturally bigger woman, those kinds of things. That's why it's a pick'em. But we're describing a fighter that's a little more sophisticated, that has a little bit more of her professional style at 31 years old, and with more professional fights down pat than the fighter with fewer professional fights who's 25 and still coming into her own. And what you might see in this fight, if it should happen, I'm with you there, is a grown woman against a young woman. And there's even more parallels to Benavidez Morel and to Boots Ennis against Xander Zayas. Xander Zayas and David Morel, two of the advantages they were supposed to have against the American fighter, right? Fighters from Puerto Rico and from Cuba, and now in this case the United Kingdom, was their feet. When you keep thinking Xander Zayas might win this fight with Ennis, one big thing that the feet. David Morel against David Benavidez, the feet. Benavidez is more flat-footed. He's more the come-forward guy. Jaron Ennis, his feet, he switches, but Zayas is the one who could circle the ring. Morel is the one that could circle the ring. Dubois is the fighter that can circle the ring. But ultimately, me and you are favoring Ennis because he's the in his prime older fighter, not the older fighter, the in his prime older fighter. Benavidez was the in his prime older fighter. Bumgardner is the in her prime older fighter, a good kind of older, the seasoned kind of older, while still having her twitch. So why wait? Time is of the essence. Get it done. You squandered the Mayer rematch. You won. I thought she won that fight 6-4. And when you talk about clout chasing, the Claressa Shields thing was clout chasing. All right, you're a super featherweight. She's a middleweight. How's this gonna happen? Oh well, she could see me at 147. Yeah, the most accomplished, along with Katie Taylor, fighter of all time, is gonna squeeze down to a weight class she's never made before to fight you, because the fight you have before you and Dubois, and I think you win the fight. So take it, unless if you hit the jackpot and Katie Taylor for some reason tells Eddie, make the fight, Eddie, then all right, go ahead. Hey, fair play to you. But I don't see that happening. So, and there's no other. Who you just gonna fight? You gonna fight Sky Nicholson, moving up from 130, moving up from 126? Who you just gonna fight? Do the Dubois fight.
Don't forget that we haven't forgotten. You have a lot more to prove than you think.
Right.
Let's see if you still got pop post-pop. Prove that don't matter, and that what we saw Saturday night, you can duplicate, and what we saw pre-pop, you can elevate from. You can do better than that. That wasn't something that made us think of you in a way that you haven't earned. Conor Benn couldn't do it. Ryan Garcia couldn't do it. You gotta do it if you don't want us to talk about you like we talk about them.